Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Ace Attorney Adventures. Last time we finished talking up with our client, Mr. Natsume, about his curse, regarding everything that's been happening to him here in Great Britain. And this time, we're finally going to begin trial with him here today. So let's just get started then, shall we? In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. I now call upon the counsels for the prosecution and the defense to declare their willingness to proceed. The prosecution is fully prepared, my lord. The defense is ready, my lord. The Nipponese are truly a fascinating breed. Sorry, what? Lord Strongarm has told me all about you. That you are a student who arrived in London but 2 days ago. A mere amateur. Yeah, a mere amateur that beat you! Haha! Do you have a point? Being a compatriot, you feel compelled to try and help the accused, I suppose. Typical Nipponese arrogance. Forgive me, but I do not believe arrogance is an appropriate description. Susato-san. After all, at our previous encounter, the defendant was found to be innocent. Very true. And a most fascinating, if dark, trial it was too. The tragic conclusion came later, of course. Here's to the acquitted, and his unfortunate, violent end. Nah, he's really rubbing it in. Look at that jury. Is that first guy the dude from our first trial here? Thank you, counsels. I see both sides are in fine fettle. Now, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, are you ready to carry out your duties here in court as impartial members of the public? Dude, it totally is him! How did he become a jury member? He was just a witness in a case, like, yesterday. This guy is so involved in the courts, for some reason. You never know when you might be down on your luck, but I believe in fair play for everyone. Well, I must warn you, I'm rather more ruthless than I appear. Oh, well, not me. What you see is what you get. I'm a peace-loving fellow. Hey, what the heck? How is she? She's like almost directly involved in this. That's not fair. I'm afraid to say, I think it's quite possible that mustached foreigner did the deed. Come on, what are we waiting for? No doubt he did it anyway. I'm sorry, what? You're gonna tell me this jury is unbiased, and that guy just makes a statement about, like, just like that. Come on now. Sorry, didn't quite catch that. So I see, juror number 6 is always just gonna be someone old, yeah. Very well, let us proceed. Your opening statement, if you please, Lord Vadzix. Very recently, Great Britain signed an alliance with the rising power in the Far East. The accused in the dock today is a student from that same land, a certain Mr. Sosuke Natsume. And while our country has extended this foreign student the warmest of welcomes, regrettably, the kindness has not been returned. In fact, this student is accused of a most sinister act. Oh! Plunging a knife into the back of an innocent woman who was doing nothing but walking down the streets. A knife crime? I tell you from bitter experience, those are the worst. Bloody oath they are. Yeah, I'm sure you have lots of experience with that. Just look at that sallow complexion and short stature. He's one of those dreadful Japanese. Oh my gosh, she's racist too. Come on, let's get this over with. With me now, everyone. 1, 2, 3. Sorry, didn't quite catch that. Pray, forgive the discourtesy of smashing my hallowed chalice here in this great chamber. Allow me to call the first witness to the stand. Very well. Bailiff, lead the inspector in, please. You know what's so nutty is that I still don't know anything about the victim. You know? I don't even know the victim's name, I'm pretty sure. Your name and occupation, please. Yes, sir. Tobias Gregson, Detective Inspector of Scotland Yard. Would you please summarize the events of the case for the court, Inspector? The victim is thought to be a young woman in her 20s by the name of Olive Green. I beg your pardon, Inspector. Thought to be? Yes. Having been stabbed in the back by her attacker's knife, the victim fell unconscious. That was 3 days ago now, and she's been comatose ever since. Oh, wow. What? So they don't even know who she is for sure? Comatose, I see. But her life is not in danger? Fortunately for the Eastern student, the charge will not be murder. Pray, elaborate on the details, Inspector. Sir, if I could ask everyone to look at this street map. As I mentioned, the incident took place 3 days ago, at around 5 in the afternoon. It happened on the pavement running alongside Briar Road, a wide thoroughfare for horse-drawn vehicles. It had not been long since... Hang on, why can't I read this? It had not long since stopped snowing as the victim, Miss Green, was walking down the street. Out of the blue, she was approached from behind by the accused and stabbed in the back. I like those little indicators that they use for them. In the original series, they just use like colored circles with like letters in them to indicate who people are on the map. Luckily, the young lady's life was spared, and she's currently been treated in one of the city's hospitals. But being unconscious as she is, we've been unable to take a statement from her, of course. This is the case file with everything we know about the victim so far. Thank you, Inspector. The court will accept the documents as evidence, if you please. I feel like it would be pretty important for us to confirm this woman's identity and also get her statement, you know? Hang on, can I look at that real quick before we proceed? Case file. A young woman rendered unconscious following a stab wound to the back. Victim Olive Green, female, stout build, early 20s. Location pavement of Briar Road, east side. Reporting officer Rolly Beat. The victim remains unconscious. Her name was gleaned from her personal effects. Other details are unknown. What does that mean? Does that mean she was carrying something with her name on it? Apart from the single stab wound from a large knife, no other signs of injury were observed. The assailant was seen running away by the reporting officer and was successfully arrested the following day. Alrighty then. Alright, what of the weapon that was used? Sir, I have that here. It was removed from the victim's back. Ouch. That big thing is starting to make me scared to walk down the street now. With a heavy blade like that, almost anyone would have been able to stab the poor woman. Even the scrag-looking Sokuki-san, I suppose. A common or garden jackknife, I would say. Rather nondescript. Thank you, Inspector. The court accepts the blade as evidence. The jackknife has been entered into the court record. A large but common folding knife, it was found lodged in the victim's back. Now then, what do we know of the motive? Money or valuables, I presume? From what we can tell by looking at the woman's possessions, it seems like she's a poor student herself. Hard to imagine she would have had anything much worth pinching, my lord. I see. Well, in that case, are we looking at some deep-seated resentment toward the victim? I'm afraid I couldn't say. Apart from visiting second-hand bookshops, the defendant, Mr. Natsume, doesn't appear to get out much. At this moment in time, we haven't been able to establish any sort of connection between him and the victim. Yes! Yes! So you got no motive. If theft and grievance had been ruled out as the motive, what reason could Mr. Natsume possibly have had for stabbing the young woman? Yet you arrested the man in spite of that, in a totally unjustified and heavy-handed way. Objection. Oh my gosh, what the heck? That was just so elegant of him, but it was so barbaric at the same time. Pray forgive the discourtesy of flinging a freshly uncorked bottle into the public gallery. Oh, that went into the gallery. Okay, so you could have hit someone with that. But your words have soured its hallowed bouquet. For it is you, my learned friend, who is being heavy-handed here. What? Scotland Yard does not arrest people without good cause. That should be beyond question. Inspector Gregson, the prosecution calls for your formal testimony. Explain to the court precisely why the constabulary... I've seen and heard that word before, but I never remember how to say it. Constabulary came to arrest the Nipponese student. Basically a fancy word for police. Yes, sir. Witness testimony. Mr. Natsume's arrest. As I said, it was 5 o'clock in the afternoon when the incident occurred, and there was an unusually light fog. Visibility was unreasonable. Man, I'm so bad at reading today. Visibility was reasonably good, and there was no one else about but the victim and the accused. So who saw this then? Out of the blue, the victim was stabbed from behind and subsequently collapsed on the pavement. The accused ran off, scattering his belongings all over the floor. Those being a number of old books he just bought. He was on his way home from a bookshop, it seems. It was just a matter of working out who the books belonged to, and we found the bloke to arrest him. Old books, you say? Yes, my lord. I have a photograph here of the scene of the crime, taken immediately after the incident. Well, how do we know it's not her books? Oh, yes, I could clearly see the books to which you are referring. I will take that photographic print as evidence, please, Inspector. Photograph of the scene taken by a policeman just after the incident occurred. A large knife can be seen thrust into the victim's back. Why would you take a photo at a time like that? Like, surely, like, if they're still alive, you should just be helping them. Like, screw the photograph. You Nipponese are a spineless breed, too cowardly to admit defeats. Denying everything despite overwhelming evidence to the contrary. How do we know it's his books, though? That's what I want to know. Well, forgive me, Lord Van Zix, but the defendant is not denying everything, as you put it. But what are you doing, Mrs. Sato? Do go on. Mr. Natsume has admitted to playing some part in the incident. Isn't that right, Mr. Naruhodo? Well, now that you mention it, when we visited him in prison yesterday, he did tell us that what had all happened. As I was walking along the accursed pavement, I could make out the sole silhouette of another ahead of me. A woman, wearing a green overcoat she was, and just as I went to overtake her, she suddenly let out a little scream and collapsed onto the cold hard slab of stone at my feet. I was terrified. I had to go get away from there, so I ran as fast as my legs would carry me back to my accursed lodgings. Humph! A green overcoat? Well, that's exactly what the woman in that print is wearing. Oh my, a photographic print in full color? What will the world come up with next? The defendant has done nothing more than admit he fled the scene of a terrifying incident. That does not mean he's guilty of the heinous crime of stabbing the woman in the back. There was nobody else there at the time, just the two of them, the victim and the accused. But who saw that to confirm that? Come on now. In other words, there's nobody else who could have possibly stabbed the woman. A fact that the accused concedes. Ugh. It seems this cross-examination could prove to be pivotal, counsel. Proceed, please. Yes, my lord. Nothing for it. I have to use this cross-examination to turn the tables here. It's our only chance. Well, nothing stood out to me quite so much. Visibility was reasonably good, and there's no one else. I'm just gonna go through it real quick, make sure that there is something I can notice. Otherwise, we're just gonna press everything. Six statements, okay. Those being a number of old books he just bought. He was on his way being home from a bookshop, it seems. It's just a matter of working out who the books belong to, and we found the bloke to arrest him. Alright, what do they say when I advance here? What do you think, Mr. Naruhodo? If you're unable to sway the jury during this cross-examination, I'm afraid that Mr. Natsume's fate will be sealed. Yes, they're sure to find him guilty. So one way or another, I have to expose an undeniable inconsistency in the inspector's testimony. I want to look at the court record again. Let's look at the print. I haven't looked quite at that yet. Can I examine this? I guess I can't. I'm going to skip to this statement and press from here, because I have a feeling it's something to do with the books. Mr. Natsume's belongings? I think you'll find it's all there in the photographic print of the crime scene. Yes, the 3 books on the floor. That's right, my lord. Second-hand books they were. Irreparably damaged after falling in the snow, of course. The accused could have easily have carried all 3 books in one hand. Which means his other hand would have been free to wield a knife, for example. He's very clever, isn't he? That's so stupid. Like, you're just walking along, carry 3 books in one hand, and then knife in the other? What do you mean? He's made it extremely hard for you to assert that Mr. Natsume had his hands full with his books. He's managed to close the one avenue of escape he might have had before we even knew it was there. You mean to say that the defendant was holding his belongings as he thrust the knife into the woman's back? That must be what happened, my lord. Yes. Those being a number of books he had just bought. He was on his way home from a bookshop, it seems. Press that. The defendant apparently visits a secondhand bookshop on a daily basis. Yes, so I understand. A shop full of old English literature. I commend the accused on the lofty subject matter of his scholarly attention. The bloke's room was stacked floor to ceiling with those musty old books. Can you tell us more about the bookshop in question, please, Inspector? Well, if I must, I'll have to ask you to look at the street map again, I'm afraid. Oh, here we go. Here we go now. Aha. The closest secondhand bookshop to the accused's lodgings is this place here, Bourbon Books. A little place on the corner of Briar Road and Meerschaum Streets. As it happens, the accused is currently living in his lodgings on the other side of Briar Road on the opposite end. Which means it doesn't take a genius to work out the route he would have taken home. Aha. Something like this. Local maps information has been updated in the court record. So now we just gotta prove that he went to a different bookstore, or he took a different route entirely. Yes, I concur with your conclusion, Inspector. The defendant would certainly have passed the scene of the crime on his way home from that particular shop. Mr. Naruhodo, I think that what the inspector just told us could turn out to be of vital importance. I concur. Yes, I agree. The most important point that the inspector just made being... What? Bookshop's name? What is the... Hang on. I don't see how the name or the stock has anything to do with it. Let's just say the location. The crucial detail in what you just told the court, Inspector, is the location of the bookshop. I couldn't agree more. So, where is it exactly? Didn't he just show us on the map? What? Eh? Are you winding me up, Sunshine? I just explained that. I got the map out and everything. Used red bloomin' ink and drew the bloke's route home on for you. And I distinctly remember seeing you nod along, Counsel. Oh, yes, of course. I must have been so nervous I didn't take it in. The blunder of the day goes to you, my learned friend. No, not yet. The trial's only just begun, after all. Mr. Naruhodo, I would strongly advise you to look carefully through the court record at this stage. Yes, miss. At once, miss. Sorry, I made a mistake, miss. Why did you think that? What? Why did you think like that? Inspector, continue with your testimony, please. What is... Hang on. What? East side. I don't understand. Oh, wait a second. Let's look at this. Oh! That's it. I just saw it. He doesn't shop at that store, he shops at a different store. Okay, so do we need to press the statement again? Was it this statement? I think it was this one, right?
Hold it!
The defendant apparently visits a second-hand bookshop on a daily basis. Yes, so I understand. Shop full of old English literature. Is this the same one? Okay, this is the same one. Good. Skip, 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 skip. We just need to find out where your books is. Because if your books is on a completely different street, then we know that he would have not taken that route home. But I don't understand how that works into what Mr. Natsume said about how he said he was there at the scene of the crime. We'll see where this takes us. The bookshop's name is of importance. Inspector Gregson, may I ask you a favor? What? Would you kindly add the name of the bookshop to your formal testimony, please? I believe it may be of vital importance. Maybe? Oh, well, you know, I mean, yes. It could be a very important clue. Very well. Not that I see it being of any great significance. But please, revise your testimony accordingly, Inspector. Yes, sir, my lord. Whatever you say. Could the man be any more sardonic? He was on his way home from Bourbon Books, a secondhand bookshop he apparently patronizes. Well, take this, my man! Take that! If I could just stop you there, Inspector Gregson. What is this, sunshine? I'm a busy man, you know. This is a receipt for, that we found in Mr. Natsume's room. It was issued on the day of the incident, and details the purchase of 3 second-hand books. And you found that in the accused room, did you? Yes, but the point is not where the receipt was found, but the name of the shop printed on it. Go on. This receipt was issued from a bookshop called Your Books. Your Books? Y-O-R-E? I presume? Yes, my lord. You're so good at spelling. So Mr. Natsume did indeed purchase a number of books at a second-hand bookshop that day. However, the bookshop in question was not Bourbon Books. Eh? What? Inspector, do you know of this other bookshop? Yes, sir. Your Books is another second-hand bookshop not far from Bourbon Books. It's just that, well, it's such a small place, I didn't think the accused would have known about it. He's a bookman, my man. He knows his books. But in fact, that is the bookshop at which the defendant visited on the day in question. And this receipt proves it.
Objection.
Yes, for what difference it makes. Wherever this man purchases musty tomes, it makes no difference in the final analysis. I disagree. I mean, after all, I have the street map here, if that might be of help. Oh, yes, thank you. Have a look at this, please. If the defendant had been returning for Bourbon Books, then yes, he would have almost certainly have passed the place where Miss Green was attacked. However, if we take into account the fact that he was actually at another bookshop, Your Books, it may very well turn out he wouldn't have passed that location at all. Could that be true? My, it rather depends on where this other bookshop is, but I do declare it may be a possibility. Is that right, Mr. Lawyer, sir? What you just said? No, I'm lying! Absolutely, it absolutely could be right. Inspector Gregson, where is this Your Books establishment? Well, obviously we looked into that. Turns out Your Books is just here on the next corner of Meerschaum Street going east. Oh, that's not helpful. Because the problem with that is, right, is that either route could have been feasible, I suppose. Local maps information has been updated in the court record. Well, I guess you know what I haven't considered, right? Is that that's just the main roads. Maybe he walked between the buildings. And there you have it! As you can clearly see now. Oh. Yeah, it doesn't help. My learned Nipponese friend is obviously in training to be a clown, the way he regales us with his such witticisms. That reminds me of Edward's statement he makes in one of the Ace Attorney games, where he says, "My sir, you are not the clown, you are the entire circus." That gets memed on a whole lot. Alright, to your future career in the circus. Grr, you put that glass down now, or I'll put it down for you. I didn't think I needed to spell it out, but here we go. If the accused are coming home from your books instead of bourbon books, there's no doubt he still would have passed the place where the victim was stabbed. Yes, thank you, Inspector. Allow me to reiterate my learned, if what's somewhat slow, Nipponese friend. You know how many chalices you got? Whenever the man purchases musty tomes, it makes no difference in the final analysis. Wherever. Ah! As I suspected, you can't fool me, and I don't suggest you try. What did I say, eh? I've had enough of this now. Beg your pardon? Terribly sorry, but would you mind repeating that? Mr. Naruhodo, get this man some hearing aids. You mustn't give up. What? What do you mean? The prosecution's assertion is correct. The members of the jury may very well decide that Mr. Natsume is guilty. Ah, she's absolutely right. We must think. We must consider the assertion just put forward by the prosecution very, very carefully. They claim Sosuke-san must have passed this location of the incident on his way home from your books, but yeah, we're gonna say it's possible he went a different way. There's two main roads after all. Or paths, I should say. The assertion just made by the prosecution is fundamentally flawed. Explain yourself, counsel. Yes, my lord. You can see what I mean on this map. When returning from your books to his lodgings, Mr. Natsume could have followed the route suggested by the prosecution. However, that isn't the only conceivable route to take between the two places. Yeah, he could have gone that way. If the defendant used these streets, look what happens. He arrives back at his lodgings without passing the location where the victim was attacked. Objection. You just say, no, that's like 10 extra feet. Talking back to a clown is a fool's errand, of course. However, I feel compelled to point out that that route is what is commonly referred to as the long way around. It's not that long, come on now. On a cold winter's night, why would any man choose to take a longer route home? Well, the answer is extremely simple. He wouldn't. In other words, the accused took the obvious route back to his lodgings and is the obvious perpetrator of this crime. Yeah, but you can't prove that. Like, you can't say people only make rational decisions every time. But, aha, yes, I've got it. Obviously, we must ask the man himself, ask Mr. Natsume which route he took home. I have already informed the court of the accused's response to such questioning. He claims he has no recollection. Huh? That's right. As I said, the bloke seems to spend his time outside wandering aimlessly from A to B. So, what are we even talking about then? You just established that he doesn't make rational decisions. That day was no exception. He says he doesn't remember where he was or which route he took home. It makes no sense. I don't believe this. This is kangaroo court, man. I thank you, my learned friend, and suggest that we do not waste any more of the court's time by wandering aimlessly around this subject. Pray, what say you insightful jurors? Don't you guys do it. Don't do it. But even if that was the case, the defense still... Oh, the deaf man is now super angry, it seems. I agree with Lord Van Zieks. Wholeheartedly in every way. What? I don't believe it. Does this mean we, members of the jury, are completely convinced now. Dude, like, we've established, like, nothing. How can you guys be convinced? Like, the detective just said that, there was only 2 people there, but he hasn't established how he knew there were only 2 people there. Like, we've done nothing. Very well, in that case, I hereby call upon all members of the jury to present your findings to the court.
Guilty.
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 Oh, they're speaking.
Guilty.
Guilty. Guilty. Guilty.
Oh, wow. There's voice acting in these segments. That's cool. Well, that's not good for us right now. It would appear the jury's leading is unanimous. Alright, well, let's do that cool thing again where we cross-examine, or I guess, like, we go through, like, the juror statements. To the insightful members of the jury, I applaud your brave resolve. You serve Queen and country admirably. Mr. Naruhodo. No, not yet. This isn't over yet. I still have one last chance to sway the opinion of the jury. I have to tip the balance of those tails the other way. I have to turn this around. Somehow. Those are the eyes of Query, not yet willing to give up and die. So I presume you intend to wield your rights again in this trial? Rights of the defense written into acquitted British law that should have been buried long ago? Well, come on, man. Like, you saw how it worked out for us last time. Like, you can't say that it should have been buried if it led to a not guilty verdict. Come on now. Call it antiquated, if you will. But it's the defense's prerogative to carry out a summation examination if it so chooses. Very well, counsel. In accordance with the letter of the law, we shall proceed with a summation examination. Are the members of the jury ready, Mr. Foreman? Of course we're ready. I'm all too familiar with that Nipponese whippersnapper and his uncussed refusal to throw in his alley. Very well, then. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will each explain on what grounds you have determined the defendant to be guilty. Judicial findings. Alright guys, we're gonna save this for next time. I'm super looking forward to this. I loved this the last time we did it, so I really can't wait to do it again. But yeah, I hope you guys have a good day, and we'll talk to y'all later. Have a good day, guys. Bye!